Before starting with the practice, it is important to clarify several key concepts that we will be using a lot throughout the course. The first concept is that of interface. Imagine two different systems A and B. If I wanted to communicate these two systems, either to transmit information or commands, an interface would have to be implemented. That is, an interface is a medium or device that allows communication between two or more systems. Let's see some examples. A cell phone has an interface. The buttons and the touch screen allow to control the device. A video game controller allows us to give instructions to our video game console to play. An ATM allows us to access the banking system to make payments, transfers, and other services. A vending machine allows us to buy products. In all these examples, one of the systems is us, the users, and the other system is one of these devices. Now we are going to study the three most common types of interfaces in computing. The first type of interface is the GUI, graphical user interface. This is the type of interface we are most used to. They have different menus, buttons, can be controlled with the mouse, resize, etc. Everyone has used this type of interface at one time or another. The second type is the CLI, command line interface. This interface allows us to control the software by means of commands. You have probably seen this interface in movies or programming tutorials. It may seem very intimidating at first, but the truth is that they are extremely easy to use and very useful. We have to make something very clear. Both GUI and CLI are not a specific type of software, but a type of interface. This means that the same software can implement both a GUI and a CLI. Let's see an example. Here, I have an SVG file of the old Twitter logo. This is a very common image type in logo design. Imagine that I want to convert this logo from SVG to PNG. To do this, there are many programs. We are going to use one called Inkscape. As you may notice, this program has a graphical interface, that is, a GUI. We have buttons, menus, and many graphical options. With this program, I can export this SVG file to PNG using this button. As you can see, a new PNG file has been generated, just as I wanted. But the file is very small, just over 200 pixels. I could use the GUI to change this, but for these simple tasks, it is much simpler to use a command line. I'm going to close the GUI, delete the PNG, and go to my command line. Inkscape gives us the option of also being able to use its command line. In this case, in order to convert an SVG to PNG, we can use this command. In this parameter that we see here, we can indicate the width of the PNG in pixels. If I indicate 500 pixels, it will generate a PNG of 500 pixels wide, maintaining the proportion. This is very useful for several reasons. On the one hand, we use less resources. CLIs almost always use less resources. And on the other hand, it allows us to perform the same process many times in a very simple way. See now this scenario. Here I have many SVG files, and I want to convert them to PNG. I could do it manually by opening them one by one with the Inkscape GUI, but it would be very tedious. It is much simpler to instruct the command line to convert all SVG files to PNG. This is much faster and is independent of the number of SVG files. These are just some of the advantages of using the CLI. As we go along, we will see many more. In addition to the GUI and CLI, there is another type of interface called API. If you have never programmed before, you have probably never heard of APIs. Let's see a practical example. Here I am in a very famous video game store in Mexico. If I go to the branches category, it will show me a Google Maps map. You can see that I am not in Google Maps, I am in Game Planet, but somehow this page can use the Google Maps service. This is just an API. An API is an interface that allows me to connect two programs or two services. In this case, the Game Planet web page is using the Google Maps API. Many web services allow you to use their API. Just Google the name of a service along with the word API to go to the instructions on how to use it. Obviously, each service's API is different, so each one will be used differently. In this course, we are not going to study APIs, but it is good to know that they exist and what they are, as it will be a concept that you will come across very often in the programming world.